What's good, everybody? Sherman Webb, Middlebrooks, lifelong Buffalo resident and full-time black man. We are here at the Buffalo Center for Health Equity in our illustrious podcast studio. This is title still being worked on, but we want to bring y'all a show featuring the staff from the Buffalo Center for Health Equity. So if you don't know, I work here as the men's health project manager, and I also produce digital media content for the organization as well. But I am joined by some of my colleagues, my comrades, my player partners. I got my homegirl, Samantha Nephew.
Word.
I got Gia. Do you use Gia Como Brown or just Gia Como or just Gia Brown?
One of those combinations.
Okay, so we got Gia with a combination of names. And then we got my man Joel Nicholas. Joel.
Yes,
not Joe.
Yeah.
Because for a minute I was saying Joe.
Yeah, there's an L in there.
It's an L on. It's an L on.
No L's here.
No L's here. I like that. Okay, so folks, I just shared a little bit about what I do. We can just go around and talk a little bit about what each of us do organizationally.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'll start. I'm the communications specialist here. That means that I strategically look at how we are positioned in the public and how we are positioned within. Meaning, how are we talking to ourselves, to each other rather, and I do a myriad of other things because in a nonprofit you have a certain title, but that does not mean you are limited to that title. So, you know, I'm a master of, what is it, jack of all trades, master of none.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I look at it. So that's a little bit of what I do.
Yeah, so I am the community engagement specialist here at Buffalo Center for Health Equity. It's kind of, I feel like the job's in the title, but of course, as Sam was just hinting towards, there's a lot that can encompass, but very much community facing. My role is very community facing. I do a lot of engagement and outreach in the community at various different events, including health events, health fairs, school events that are being hosted. Just trying to, I go out and I table and distribute the word about the social determinants of health and health equity and some of the projects and initiatives that we are working on here at the Buffalo Center for Health Equity, as well as that our partners are working on. And then, of course, in my role, the nature of my role is a lot of relationship and partnership building, and to build out our coalition and our movement. So.
Cool.
I'm the executive assistant.
But what does that mean, Joel?
Right. What does that look like?
Joe.
Well, a lot like what you were saying. I do my executive assistant job and more.
Pretty much everything Esther says.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, that's it. Here to assist the executive, but I'm generally a helping hand for all different types of projects that we're doing here. So I have my hand in pretty much everything.
I would agree. But wait, Gia, you're your employee.
Oh, am I supposed to introduce this guy?
I think he's in the wire shot.
Yeah,
he's in the shot.
If you haven't seen this guy, this is our mascot, Socks, sometimes referred to as our whole entire HR department. But
Yep.
That's a
I don't know if that's on or off the record.
It's both. For all complaints to Socks.
Yeah, he's very confidential. He doesn't express our complaints.
Exactly.
He doesn't disclose much of it.
Yeah, he's the longest standing employee of the month.
Permanent employee of the month.
Yes, exactly.
So, Gia, you were talking about doing work like in the community. So what does the community engagement look like for us here at the center, and what are some of the things can folks look forward to, I would probably say, like around April and May?
Yeah. So I feel like the community engagement approach that the Buffalo Center for Health Equity takes, and that I take, is really a health education standpoint. So starting with that health education and awareness, whether it be at the community member level, all the way up through, to engaging local government and policymakers on, again, the social determinants of health and some of the conditions that exist that our Black and Brown folks are facing that are disproportionate to their counterparts. So again, the health education awareness piece is really, I think, at the core of community engagement. I think that people have to be aware that there's an issue and that there are issues that exist first before you can actually engage them into the work and pull them in. So we all do play a role in that. But that's first and foremost when I go out in the community, or even when I'm at the office doing admin stuff. It's what's step one. And then, trying to ultimately, we want to mobilize a community that we were talking about in our staff meeting today, that goes from just maybe attendees in our whether they be a focus group or our annual Igniting Hope conference, or an attendee at just a community event on an evening or on a weekend. I want to transform them, and we want to transform them from attendees to participants.
Yeah.
Participants in their life, in the narrative of their life, their story, the narrative of the generations that come after them as well. Really making them active members, and the word that always comes to mind for us and for myself is mobilizing them. Ultimately, we want to create a community that says no more, and not just that says no more, but says that we're actually not going to rest. We're going to take action, and we're actually going to show up alongside the Buffalo Center for Health Equity and alongside our partners to demand different, And then as far as some immediate community engagement events or outreach events that we have coming up, we are taking an even larger role. We really come alongside Stan Martin Consulting.
Shout out Stan the Man.
Shout out Stan the Man. And I think most people in the community would know, but if you don't, Stan has spent so much of his career, not to speak for him, but really trying to work towards a menthol ban, especially in the city of Buffalo. He is a force to be reckoned with, and we will absolutely see that day when menthol is no longer, no longer a thing here in the city of Buffalo as far as law goes. But so we have actively taken a role in that work with No Menthol Buffalo and Stan, but we have only enhanced that and heightened that in the last coming weeks, and it will continue to this year. So that brings me to Monday, March 31st. There will be a press.
Oh, this won't be
I
out
was
by
just
then.
gonna, as I looked at you. Okay.
I appreciate y'all for this is the pilot. That's why the name of the show is
To be determined.
TBD. Maybe we should name the show that. TBD.
That sounds like a drug or a sick illness that we're discussing.
It sounds like a social determinant of health we need to address. But
SDH show.
yeah. But
Cure SDH.
that definitely sounds like it itch. SDH sound like it itch.
I don't want that.
I don't want no SDH.
You don't want to do an SDH
Oh,
fun run?
what?
Like in the office?
Chafing everywhere.
But to that point though, appreciate y'all for rocking with us. This is the first episode. But yeah, this won't be out by the 31st.
Okay.
That's why I was like, anything that you got coming up in like April or May, because this is
Okay.
gonna probably be out first week of
April.
Thank you.
Oh,
Next week.
okay. Well, I guess in the same vein.
We could talk about how it went.
Yeah, absolutely. We can talk
You
about
can
how
project
we can,
how it went.
we can retroactively fill you in on how that.
We had a good time.
We had a great time. The media was there, well attended. We're well on our way to banning menthol here.
Well, to be fair, in past events with the menthol ban and the health sciences charter school, it's always been really well attended, really
Yeah.
well received, and the fact that the kids are there and actively engaged
Yeah.
in
Right.
a topic like menthol cigarettes,
Yeah.
like there's a part of me that wants to believe that kids look at these things and roll their eyes like, I don't care, whatever. But it's that messaging that you plant the seeds, and
Mhm.
eventually they get to the point where it's like, oh,
Yeah.
if they really don't want to do it, it makes it easier to say no to like peer pressure and all that.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is really important, and you might get the eye rolls.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 16-year-olds are 16-year-olds.
Right.
I was 16 and I would get the eye roll.
Thank you.
I
Thank
would give the eye roll, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
when you
It
get
ain't-
them all together, it makes it easier to maybe do the peer pressure. Be like, are you sure you want to do that though?
Right.
Rather than here.
And it creates an experiential moment where like you and your friend groups can refer back to. So it's like, remember when we saw X, Y, and Z? So it's not like you're sitting in somewhere having an individual isolated moment. Because I think in the men's work that we do a lot of times, it's funny because we started doing men's work because the women who were being helped by Buffalo Prenatal, shout out Buffalo Prenatal, in their program, they were doing a great job helping the mothers to the point where they were like, do you need help with anything else? And like, you pretty much helped me with everything. The best thing you could do is help my baby daddy. And so that was a large like catalyst for like how
That's
we
started, right?
how we started doing like men's work. And so it was funny because the men would come to our program, do the 10 weeks over like 20 hours of like the Nurturing Fathers curriculum, and like they're having transformative moments, but then they're going back to their families like all excited trying to implement things that they learned in the class, and they're like, but then nobody knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
My wife, my girlfriend, my daughter's mom, or my son's mom, or my parents, and I'm trying to talk to them. Like, nobody gets where I'm coming from because nobody was in that meeting with me having that experience. And so I think it's important, going back to your point, when you have young people and they're having a collective shared experience, it's like it provides that point of reference for them later on in order to make a decision. So,
And it's a real life experience. I mean, it's the health sciences charter school. I'm sure they're learning, you know, some kind of theory or facts behind all of this in whatever program they have over there. But this is the real life. Oh yeah, people in the community came out. I don't know, it's about some menthol smoking thing, but menthol is bad because.
Right, and that's the kind of stuff that they're gonna remember when they're in their 20s.
Yeah.
Like, man, when I was a kid, then y'all come do it. Because now that I'm in my 30s, I see myself having those moments of like, yeah, I remember you came.
Making those connections.
Yeah, from, like you said, planting those seeds, and now I can finally harvest those things that I rolled my eyes at or didn't think was important when I was a teenager or even in my 20s. I'm like, okay. That's what they were talking about. They was trying to save me from this moment.
I love that, the life-changing,
Yeah.
And then you become that, nagging the...
Oh, as a parent, as an uncle, as a mentor, I love the always better than me saying, I told you so. That's you telling me that I told you so.
Yeah.
And I don't got to, I love that.
You tell me I told you so. Even better.
Even better. Even better. Word.
Yeah, so, well then, but it's still in the same vein of talking about our, work that we'll be rolling out more with No Menthol Buffalo. You can look forward to, Zach's is trying to get on the couch here, you can look forward to some events and some community focus groups, community engagement meetings that will take place in April and May. Sim's insistent that Sox sits next to her.
Yes. What's that show that you said? Drew Barrymore or something?
Yeah, the Drew Barrymore show.
Yeah.
Douglas is always on the couch.
I like her appliances. She got nice appliances.
She got nice appliances. Try to be like Drew Barrymore
He
here.
wants to be next to you. Just let him be next to you.
So that will be a way for community members and the like to be involved in those focus groups. We'll have some smaller ones, and then we'll have some larger ones take place in April and May. And we also we continue to stay engaged with Buffalo Public Schools community schools, Say Yes, Saturday academies. I know I've been scheduled, I'm only one person here in community engagement, but I've scheduled myself out and plan to do so more to continue to engage in those Saturday academies that are really well attended by the community. And just in case anybody doesn't know, the Saturday academies, and Joel might be able to speak more so to this. He's pretty privy to the Say Yes activities and events, but it's a chance for family members and students to attend the participating schools and really have extracurricular activities within the school. They don't even say that Lovejoy, Discovery has a Say Yes, a Saturday academy. You're able to just attend without having the student actually go to that school. So it's really just open to everybody. There's also farmers markets that take place there. Of course, health vendors. And and it's a great resource, and it's really great to see the kids be able to go to school and have fun, bring their families, might get their hair braided, might get henna tattoos, and it's really cool. So I was just at a Say Yes community collaborative meeting that they hosted yesterday, and it was the first time I ever attended one of these, where it was of course the Say Yes school navigators there, as well as a few community vendors that show up to these events, and then I guess you could put myself somewhere in there as a CBO, as a community-based organization, and being able to kind of talk about the why they do these academies, and hear that, and also be able to connect more with schools that I haven't yet been able to connect with, and would love for Buffalo Center. First of all, the people not understanding what our work is and what we do here at the center, and being able to tell them and we asked really great questions yesterday. For example, a woman asked me, do we feel like anything has changed in the last few years, health equity wise, and in the region and on the east side of Buffalo? Do we feel like things are improving? And so that just ends up in a really great conversation, engaging conversation, and just it's really important to have those conversations on all levels, again, from community members to activists, policymakers, academics, and professors that we have in our partnerships at the universities and institutions, and then our educators, really out there with our children.
You broke it down, Jid.
Yeah.
She covered it all.
I walked in here, I don't know what I'm going to
I
say
don't
now.
I got no notes. And she just was like, okay, let me talk about everything I've ever done
No.
since I worked here.
We were saying we're going to be like 15 minutes.
Yeah. I love that. I appreciate that.
No, definitely trained by pastor then.
Yes. So that's like the next thing that I'll kind of want to like talk to. So like I kind of want to like make a slight pivot and transition over to you, Joe. What's it like working with your pop? So if you don't know, I gave my man's last name. His last name might be a little familiar to our CEO. His last name, I don't know, draw a coincidence.
A little bit.
The people know. The people know. If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. So what's that experience like for you, and how have you been able to like manage it and like put up the boundaries and still be able to be like really effective at your job?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah.
What I always say is that I've been doing this job my whole life. Now I'm just getting paid. So it's really nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. My dad is still the same man that he's always been. I'm still the same guy I've always been, and now I just have the privilege of getting deeper involved into his work and being a little bit more informed than I have previously been, just slightly, because I've always been pretty informed.
Yeah.
But it's really just a natural transition that we made, and it's actually I've been having a lot of fun, and there's a lot of pieces of the stories that I would get at a time. I'm filling those blanks in now, and then I'm realizing that when he leaves the house, he's actually doing something that he loves. It's not only stressful, but it's a labor of love, and I get to see the love and pretty much firsthand now, which is really awesome.
Something he was meant to do.
Question to build on that. How often do you go out in the community? Probably, most likely with him. But people go, oh wow, I remember you when you were yay tall.
Too much, all the time. No, all the time. It's funny. A lot of people.
You're a grown man now.
Yeah, they'll be like, man, I remember you when you was like 6 years old or something. I'm like, oh really? I don't.
I get
You're
this
old enough
thing.
to be employed. To be
but-
employed?
Yeah, so.
My favorite is, I remember when I held you when you were a baby, and I'm like, oh, I don't remember
I don't remember that. How would I remember that?
Well, you're making uncomfortable.
Why would you think that I would remember that?
When you come from a family of people that are out there in the community
Yeah.
like that, they remember the little kids.
Yeah.
They definitely do. Yeah.
Sometimes they bring out the kid nicknames.
Yeah, luckily
Don't
they
really
have
care
some
for
crazy
that.
ones. Yeah.
Don't call me Sammy. That's not my name. But there are some people in the community that I'm like, oh, you knew me when I was 6, and I respected you then. And
That's very interesting.
like, if either one of you called me Sammy, any one of you three, I'd fight you. There's some people out in the community that would be like,
I would never.
I would never.
I honestly like I don't really call women named Samantha Sam unless like they say it's okay.
that's her.
Yeah, I mean.
Well, we got to know each other as adults.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's different.
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying. Because I would not, when I came here last year, I would not have been like, hey, G, I'm Sammy.
Yeah. First of all, I forgot we was on the work podcast.
No offense to any Sammys out.
Yeah, no offense. But I was gonna say, yeah, you
If
was a
that's
girl
what she
age
wanted
her
me
woman.
to,
She's just
Everyone
not a
call it
Sammy.
Sammy. It's okay.
I am just not a Sammy.
Your name, your body, your life, your choice. I will call you what you want me to call you. It don't matter to me. It don't matter to me. What you want me to call you, I'll call you that.
Yup.
Cool. But no, I think that's super interesting, and I always kind of wondered that, and especially when we're in meetings where like somebody needs to push back.
Oh yeah, no, I'll do that any day.
I'm like,
I'm like, y'all
I'll
not gonna
pick
say
up
something
on that.
All
I'm gonna say it.
I'll say something.
Good. I'm like, I like that.
When he's dad first and not CEO first.
Yeah.
You know, but even as CEO, I mean, I feel like that's part of my nature too. In general,
Yeah.
even if it wasn't my dad, I feel like I would speak up and
I
say
can see
something.
you as that kind of
'cause,
person.
Like,
Yeah.
it's not that deep because it'll things like it's better to address something when things happen than to wait them out and watch them slowly erode away. So.
Well, they also have the benefit of like dinner at night or
That
whatever.
is true.
Yeah,
I'm
we don't
not
talk
pushing
about
back on
this.
Pastor and then coming over for dinner after.
That is true. That is, and it's also your approach that I've noticed. So like, you don't have an abrasive approach.
True.
So like,
Yeah.
when you're pushing back purposefully.
Yeah,
Like
logic.
to get in with some clarity, some understanding.
That's all about it. I mean,
Yeah. They ain't trying to
miscommunication
troll
leads to
or-
problems and
Yeah.
stuff. So you
And-
got to be real clear about what a person is saying, and then have a real logical understanding of that, and then regurgitating that in a way, adding your own twist to it that offers clarity. So you know, he'll say something, and I'll just be like, this doesn't make sense, because if this is your plan to do X, you know, it'll lead to this.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
it's important that both parties are on the same page about what decision is being made, because once you decide what you're going to do, you got to commit to it. You can't just be bouncing all over the place. So from the jump, it needs to be clear what you're going to do. All parties need to agree and move forward.
That is a
And-
perfect segue, I would say, to why we value community engagement so well.
Yeah.
Because what he just said is perfect example of why relationship building is important. I mean, obviously, that's your dad. You've had that relationship your whole life. But you know which buttons not to press, which ones to press, what he's
Mhm.
comfortable with, what
Right.
he's willing to
Mhm.
take.
Right.
Feedback-wise, community engagement, we're not just sitting in this podcast room and talking about what their problems are outside. We go out there and ask them.
Right.
They know what their problems are. They may not know the words.
Right.
There was once upon a time where I didn't know what gentrification was, but I knew I was getting pushed out of my
Yeah,
house.
I knew. I knew what it looked like. I didn't know the word. Yeah, exactly.
I knew all of a sudden that they were charging
Exactly.
way more money than that apartment was worth.
Exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
But if you go out there and just talk to people and express these things, it's like, oh no, well there's all these movements about what, you know, the kind of work that we're doing, and what have you. And that is why Gia's work is so important. Going out into the community and just talking to people.
Mhm.
I mean, that's the foundational building block of relationship building. We
Yeah.
want to have those relationships. We love when our, you know, Missing Nats and other folks, we can just be like, we have this thing going on. We need your input and
Mhm.
all of that.
Yeah,
And
cool.
like, yep, exactly. You've got those people that'll be like, oh, and I'm being fed. I'll be there.
Big
Yeah.
and we like to feed people here. We definitely feed
We
people.
sure do. And the thing about in that vein is just our work is fueled by the community. The work
Right.
we're doing is to amplify the community's voice, not our own voices. We do have voices as community members, as people, you know, part of this community. But it's fueled by hearing what the community needs, not telling them what they need. We don't want to be a part of that, of this is what our great idea and we want to put it on you. It's we want to hear what you think.
Yeah,
We
no.
got the resources.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And forget who I got the quote from, but shout out to whoever I heard it from. And I'm paraphrasing, but the people closest to the problem are those closest to the solution.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
like, I love that, because like, how you gonna come in? And that always frustrated me, but I see value in it when like we bring in like out of town experts to kind of talk about different things. But I'm like, you ain't from Buffalo. You ain't from the east side. You ain't from the west side.
Yeah.
You ain't from the suburbs. Like, okay, I understand your philosophy and like maybe the package or the curriculum that you're trying to sell or promote. And I'm not so much of a contrarian where like, if I don't have an alternative idea in place of, I'm not just gonna go against what your idea is. I'm more of I'll keep, toss, add. So I'll keep what I need, toss what I don't, add my own to it. And so I appreciate that when out of town people come in and try to help us. But for the most part, like, we have everything that we need here.
Mm-hmm.
We have enough people with talent and experience. What's that University of Phoenix commercial? Oh God! So yeah, because at the graduation, right?
I think I know what you're talking about.
At the graduation, the dude was like, the creator or whoever you believe in gives us all talent. We're all given like talent. It's different, but it's equal. What's not all given to us equal is opportunity to practice and develop and show those talents.
There's a lot of people in indigenous communities that'll say that we all, like you said, the talent. So I don't want to give that credit to the University of Phoenix, first of all.
That's why I heard it. It was in their commercial. That's where I heard it from, in their commercial.
Okay.
I'm sure they didn't come up with that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, but that's where I got it from. Damn.
But we're all born with specific talents. Like, some of us are diplomats. Some of us are like, we're not born with job titles.
Right.
We're diplomats. We're storytellers. We're leaders. We're et cetera, et cetera. It's just a matter of, again, the opportunity and honing in on those opportunities, making sure people have that chance to really express that.
So,
Before we get into the next one, I gotta get to a cognito forms.
Word. So yeah, so that's what I was about to say. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap up this first pilot episode. I'm gonna go ahead and work out the technical difficulties and everything that I'm noticing in real time in the background that y'all don't know, that I'm noticing I'm gonna have to do in post production. But this is cool. We look forward to y'all joining us on this journey. Make sure y'all get in the comments. Make sure y'all share this conversation with somebody who you feel like could benefit from this. Be on the lookout for the events that we're gonna have upcoming in April and May.
And these faces.
Yes, and these faces. So now you know who we are and what we do in the community. Anything else that folks want to say for the good of the cause before we go and get out of here?
We're here to cure TBD.
Yeah, we're here to cure SDH with TBDs.
That sounds.
That sounds you gonna have side
like
effects.
something you covered in healthcare.
Yeah, for real. Sound like you're gonna be one of them commercials. If you experience, call But until next time, y'all. In the words of my hero Jerry Springer, y'all take care of yourselves and each other. Peace.
Love y'all.
That's it.
That's Jerry Springer.
Yeah. At the end of every episode, that's his final thought. You take care of yourself and each other.
Bye, Corey. Seriously.
Great.